Alright, I can't wait anymore. We gotta talk about this. How is the Fatui Harbingers gonna get the Pyro Gnosis from the Pyro Archon, Mawika? They have the potential here to do something very extraordinary with the story. And this is important, because this is the first time ever in Genshin Impact where we finish the main Archon quest and story of a new nation, and the Harbingers don't get the Gnosis. Mawika even tells us the Tsaritsa is not going to settle for not getting the Gnosis and they're going to send somebody else. So Mawika is preparing for this. But guess what, Nod-Krai, we've talked about that in videos recently. The future of Teyvat, the Harbingers, and Shasnaya. None of it matters if they don't get the Pyro Gnosis. Project Stuja and their plans are donezo. The jig is up. If they don't get the Pyro Gnosis, it doesn't matter, they have to. Not getting the Pyro Gnosis is not an option for the Fatui. They'll do whatever they have to. And that is what we're here to discuss. Before anything can move forward, they need to get it. Probably sooner than later, since the Heavenly Principles is probably getting close to waking up. I don't think they want to diddle-dally when they're getting close to the end game and they got one more to get. They tried taking it by force, didn't work. And in no way does she sound like she's ready to give it up. So how the hell are they gonna get it? I know exactly how I think it's gonna happen, and they have the perfect setup to make this happen. They have set themselves up so much, and I don't even know if they realize it. And I do think it's gonna be the third Harbinger, Columbina, but it does seem like a lot of people think it might be other Harbingers. So I'm leaving nothing off the table. We're gonna explore all options. Whether I think it's likely or not doesn't matter. I'm going to go over the most likely candidates, how they would approach it, and how plausible it actually is. I was gonna save Columbina for last because I think this is the most likely, but screw it, we're talking about her first. This is what I think's gonna happen. What do we know about Columbina, besides her being the third Harbinger, the little dove? She ranks among the top 3 that are said to be as strong as gods. The captain refused to take the Pyro Gnosis once he lost his duel with Mawika. We know he was in a weakened state, carrying around the souls of his dead comrades, hasn't had a good night's sleep in 500 years, and he still put up a hell of a fight. But that's just it. They already tried to take it by force, against the god of war, and it didn't work. I don't think they're gonna try this again. And we haven't seen the Fatui Harbingers do nothing sinister in a while. There are Harbingers that are downright deplorable. They're awful. Then there's Harbingers that are actually pretty decent people. Fontaine and Natlan both had decent Harbingers that helped the nation out. But I think we're due now for some Fatui shenanigans, some evil deeds. If they tried to take it by force and it didn't work, they have to try something else. All of the voice lines about Columbina suggest that she's ominous to say the least. Might have powers over your emotions, your mind, and be able to attack you psychologically eternally.
The Fatui Harbingers are ranked by strength, and I have no idea why that girl is number 3. I'd test my skills with every Harbinger who ranks above me if I had the chance. But when it comes to her, something just doesn't feel right. Anyway, you should be careful around her.
Let me ask. What should you do if you were to encounter a damsel who is oblivious and innocent at any given time, and unconcerned and unfeeling in any given situation? If it were me, I could at least challenge her to a fight. But if it were you, with your conscience, I would stay away from her.
She is a very special Harbinger. Pose her a question, and the answer you receive will be entirely unpredictable, if she sees fit to give a proper answer at all. Regardless, any answer you do receive is sure to be an interesting one.
We've speculated a lot on this channel if she's a Seelie or angel from the old goddess race that was banished. Much like the Lord of Night, maybe she's even associated with one of the 4 shades. But regardless, Columbina is powerful. But she's powerful in a very different way than the captain is or Ildadore, the other 2 top 3. Ildadore is smart. He can create a god. He's created copies and segments of himself. He uses intelligence, chemistry, biology, science to enhance himself and everyone around him. He is dangerous. He took us out without even putting up a fight. When he negotiated with the God of Wisdom, the captain is the pinnacle of human strength and resolve. We saw that. So he's your more literal brute strength. But Columbina's the psychological. She's the anomaly in the X Factor. And that's just it. Even the Harbingers, that are all colleagues with each other, don't really know what to say or what to think of her. Tartaglia even wants to test himself against the captain, but just tells us to stay away from her. She's laughing, she's always got her eyes closed. Now, I've made all kinds of videos talking about what I think Columbina is, where she comes from, her origin, different possibilities. I don't want to repeat all that in this video because none of it's concrete. Her constellation is a mourning dove associated with funerals and death, the eyes closed crying, along with her own eyes being closed all the time. I talked about a possibility of eye contact could be her source of power. I think she attacks you eternally, mentally, psychologically, through your emotions. And I think she's honestly incredibly dangerous, but in a very different way than the captain in Il Dodore. But at the end of the day, we just don't know for sure. That is why she's a fan favorite Harbinger. There's so much intrigue with Columbina. There's so much we don't know, but yet it's so ominous. Something is just not right with her. The captain was from Conria, so is Columbina actually from Natlan? Is she another angel? Maybe, just maybe. Her design would certainly suggest so. And personally, I think she's perfectly suited to take the Pyro Gnosis. More than any Gnosis we've ever seen. Think about it. What does Natlan really preach a lot in its story? I know the Archon quest in Natlan is a little hit or miss with everyone. Some people like the Pyro Archon, some don't. But in my recap of the Archon quest and Mawika's actual story video that I made, the theme of Natlan is humans becoming Archons. The Xbalanque defeated the Pyro Sovereign, became the first Pyro Archon, and humans have taken that mantle ever since. Natlan really is the representation of, can humans actually become gods and be good at it? And the answer is yes. In Natlan, the Archons have divinative powers, but are also very human. They get along with everyone and understand the day-to-day of every individual, all fighting a war against the Abyss. Natlan's greatest strength is its Archon being a human and having that humanity, and a worthy successor chosen every new generation, or whenever the Pyro Archon dies. Because the Pyro Archon has a human lifespan with divinative powers. And so far in Natlan, it's only shown us the strength of having a human Archon, but perhaps Columbina can finally show us the disadvantage and the weakness of having a human as its Archon. Yes, Mawika can protect her people. She's human, but she's also brave. She sacrificed a lot. Her family, her memories, everyone she knew in her own time period, and her ultimate goal was to sacrifice herself and her life to save her nation. She is very admirable whether you like her as a character or not. But Columbina, unlike the captain, might actually be able to use Mawika's humanity, her cherished memories, her care for the humans in Natlan against her. Like Scaramouche and Tartaglia hint at, if Mawika is at the end of the day, like her own story quest really tried to show us, a human that jokes around, has hobbies, is at the end of the day just a person, then I really do think Columbina exploiting this part of her, especially since Natlan built us up on the idea of humans becoming Archons and how great it's been in this epic story, I personally think it's a great transition to get the Pyro Gnosis heading to Nod-Krai. How this looks exactly, I don't know. Maybe we get a Columbina boss battle. Maybe part of her boss battle is taking control of the captain's body now. We don't know what she's capable of. And there's something that you might all be forgetting already. In Mawika's story quest after the Archon quest where she fights Xbalanque and meets the first Pyro Archon, it was a great story quest. But you notice that she has little flashes of fighting the Abyss while fighting him? Mawika might be the Archon. She might have saved Natlan from the war, but the people in Natlan have PTSD. Genshin might be a very colorful and animated game, but Natlan's been in war for as long as this nation has existed, and Mawika is, at the end of the day, a human. She has PTSD. Living in a constant state of war is crazy, and you can definitely tell, and they briefly show it, that it still lingers within her, and that over time, she will learn to enjoy other hobbies. But that was the entire point of reinstating the tournament, to give people something to train for, purpose. When you're in a constant state of war your entire life, generations, it's hard to adjust out of that. Columbina might not only be able to take advantage of her humanity and exploit that, but she might be able to exploit this little bit of lingering PTSD. A nation that has suffered in a constant war for generations. Pull Malwika's deepest traumas out of her. Use that against her. Immobilize her without even throwing a punch. They are not going to try to take it in a fight 1v1 again. They already tried that. It didn't work. And personally, I see this as the absolute best case scenario to get the Pyro Gnosis. They need that Gnosis no matter what. One way or another, no is not an option. If asking for it doesn't work, they're going to have to do something sinister. Even her codename Damsletti is a reference to a damsel, which is a young woman or a young unmarried woman, usually defenseless, in distress, often referred to as a damsel in distress. And if you recall Scaramucci's lines, innocent and oblivious, but something's not right. Some more misdirection with this character. We obviously know she's not defenseless and not actually a damsel. She's ranked in the top 3, which makes her that much more dangerous. Obviously the captain is the strongest of the Fatui Harbingers, he's number 1. But in a lot of ways, Malwika is super lucky that he's the one that went to go claim the Gnosis. The captain could have had the Gnosis in 3.0 and been done with it. He could have sabotaged Natlan and done whatever he needed to do to get it, but he didn't. He literally walked in the stadium and challenged her 1v1, and in his most fragile, weakened state, nearly fought her to a standstill, but he ultimately lost, while trying to protect the tens of thousands of souls he is carrying around. From purely trying to get a Gnosis standpoint, that was the worst way to go about it. But like Scaramucci says about the captain, his biggest weakness is that he is actually an honorable good person. He values virtue and strength, essentially letting Malwika know, here I am, let's fight to see who wins. The other Fatui Harbingers are not gonna do that. And obviously the captain ranks above Columbina and Il Dodore. But the difference here is those two aren't going to just announce their arrival without having a plan in place, guaranteeing their victory, and guaranteeing they get the Gnosis. The captain was not invested in getting the Gnosis as much as he was saving Natlan, and finding a way to snub the Shade of Death Ranova. That was his true ambition. But sending Columbina, a supposed damsel that's unconcerned at any given time with her surroundings and is oblivious, yet sinister. All of the other Harbingers are leery about her. Child, who will fight anyone anywhere to test his strength, tells us to stay away. The top 3 ranked as strong as gods, and Child has even seen the captain firsthand. He knows what an absolute juggernaut he is, and he can't understand why Columbina is ranked 3, but yet she is. Hinted to have power over emotions, the consciousness. To be honest, the more I think about it, I don't even think it would be that hard for her to even take the Gnosis. Whether it would be targeting Malwika's humanity, her emotions, her past, her PTSD, or even somebody she currently cares about, forcing her to submit the Gnosis to protect people she cares about in Natlan. Even Harbingers that are on good terms with us and are actually decent like Arlecchino is not afraid to kill somebody if she needs to. So considering all we've talked about, plus the fact that Columbina could very well be from the Seelie or Angel race, they have the recipe and the story elements here to do something amazing with this. And something unique to Genshin Impact so far in the story. Cause like I said, every time before this, the Fatui already had the Gnosis by the time the Archon quest was wrapping up. Another reason she's the likeliest of Harbingers to send is because who else? Il Dodore is probably working in Nod-Krai. We already know he tested out building a man-made god in Sumeru, and once they get all 7 Gnosis, it seems like he's going to be doing something along those lines. Sandrone seems very unlikely, along with the Rooster and the Regrader. The Regrader was actually teased in Seatlali's story quest, when that guy from Fontaine was researching into the Battle of the 7 Colors. Those Fatui that he employed worked for the Regrader, wanting to destabilize Fontaine's economics. They wanted to destroy that sphere in the ruins near the Master of the Nightwind's tribe, wanting him to become a giant in the paint industry, while also disrupting Fontaine's economic system. So I have seen people suggest that they send the Regrader to Natlan to get the Pyro Gnosis. Now, if this happens, which seems unlikely, since Tartaglia did kind of tell us he's working with the Rooster on Project Stuja. But let's say this does happen. Well, I think we know exactly how he does it. What else is there? That's the only way I see him getting it. Another Harbinger I could see actually the most likely other than Columbina is again Tartaglia. It's not that I don't like Tartaglia, actually I'm probably a big Tartaglia advocate. I think out of all the Harbingers, he's kind of an anomaly, and he has the highest ceiling potential. And with Skirk coming out sometime before Nod-Krai or Shasnaya, maybe they rerun him and work him into the story. I could totally see that. I think it would be pretty boring to reuse him again, and I don't think he's strong enough to take it. The only way I could have seen this happening is if he helps save Natlan, but it's already saved by the captain. Maybe he participates in the new tournaments and impresses the god of war, which would be something Tartaglia. I could see him doing that, but would it be enough to give away the Gnosis? Maybe Mawika feels indebted to the Fatui for the captain's sacrifice, so she just gives it to him. Maybe. It's definitely not impossible. I just think that would be an incredibly lazy way to go about it, personally. But when it comes to Tartaglia, you can never rule him out. Now, Ildidore. It certainly suggests he'll be working diligently in Nod-Krai. I don't think he'll be there. And at the end of the Archon quest, Mawika tells us that his subordinates already checked on the false sky phenomenon. If he already sent other people to go check on certain things, I think he would have already went himself by now to get it. And how would Ildidore even get the Gnosis? Similar to Columbina, I think he would take advantage of Mawika's good nature and humanity. Through technology and science, I think he could take it by force. Nobody other than the captain is just going to walk up to the Pyro Archon and say, hey, let's fight for it, fair and square. No other Harbinger's doing that. So Mawika is at a disadvantage now. Yes, she's prepared, but I don't think she realizes just how cunning the Fatui Harbingers can be. The captain is the most honorable of them by far. And I truly think Mawika's going to learn the dark side of the Harbingers. At least that's how they should do it. Other than that, what other Harbinger could they send that's either strong enough or has the means? Arlecchino's already been recruited to Project Stuja. We're not going to meet the Rooster or Piero until Shasnaya at least. The Wanderer or Scaramouche is out of the question. And well, maybe Senora. So process of elimination. I circle back to one Harbinger that has the means and power level in the ranking to do it. The little dove, Columbina. But let me know your thoughts in the comments. Who do you think is going to get the Gnosis? And how do you think they go about doing it? Can Mawika be talked into giving it away? Are they going to have to earn it, buy it, trick her for it, or something more? I look forward to reading those comments, but thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe if you'd like to see more content like this, and as always, we will see you all in the next one. Later.